Hodgson's of Chancery Lane, from the November 7, 1919 issue of the Bookman's Journal and Print Collector. If you drop into N. 115, Chancery Lane, at the right time you will find yourself in a high room surrounded by well-filled shelves and in the center a rostrum on which an auctioneer is knocking down books to a crowd of keen bookmen. For nearly 112 years a Hodgson has been selling books to the highest bidder. The founder of the firm was Mr. Robert Saunders, who held a sale in Reading on September 9th, 10th, and 11th, 1807. Mr. Saunders moved to Soho the same month, and almost every subsequent sale was held in London, occasionally at Tom's Coffee House, in Cornell, or the London Tavern. In 1829 the business had passed into the entire control of Mr. Edmund Hodgson, the grandfather of the present Hodgsons, who for 4 years before 1829 had been associated with Mr. Saunders. He moved the firm to 129, Fleet Street. It was he who really developed the business, opened up trade with the publishers, and conducted the chief trade sales. In 1854 the firm removed to No. 2, Chancery Lane, and 9 years later moved again to the specially built premises at No. 115, which they still occupy. It was in January, 1901, that the present firm, Messrs. J. and S. Hodgson, became known to the whole book world as Hodgson & Co. When I visited the auction rooms the other day the two brothers resolutely refused to become personally reminiscent. The history of the firm, with which is bound up the 100-year-old history of book auction prices, is far more interesting than we are, they said as they led the way down into a labyrinth of carefully kept book storerooms under Chancery Lane. That is your story, they remarked, pointing to a row of bound sale catalogues harking back to 1807. And they were right. Oh, the change in book sales since 1807. Dibdin had not then stated that £121.16 for a first folio Shakespeare was the highest price ever given, or likely to be given, for the book. If only we could go at once, today, to a Hodgson auction of 1807, with a handcart, a wagonette, a pantechnicon, and awaken tomorrow safely back with our plunder in 1919. Looking through the old auction catalogues I was struck by the fact that in the old days solicitors whose liberties came under the hammer were described as respectable, after 1852 they became eminent. Also the work of the cataloguer, which Messrs. Hodgson have brought to a fine art, was in 1807 quite rudimentary. Some years ago a remarkably fine copy in contemporary Morocco of the engraved works of Antoine Watteau was sent to Messrs. Hodgson with instructions that it was not to be sold for less than £250. Careful cataloguing, and keen competition between London and Paris buyers obtained £665 for the book. More recently a lady in the country sent some books to be sold, and enclosed in her letter a short poem, insignificantly printed on 4 leaves, with no title page, heading, or date. She did not know whether to throw it away or not. The cataloguer found it to be a poem by Wordsworth on the death of Lamb, written in 1834, and inscribed, as lovers of Wordsworth will remember, to the dear memory of a frail, good man. It realized £28, and when reported in the Times the next day the lady wrote up very delighted with the result, and very amused that the Times should have misprinted 28s as £28. "Have you got enough material?" said one of the Hodgson brothers kindly, over the pile of catalogues. "Far too much," I replied. "You can't squeeze 112 years of book romance into one column of type."